this presentation we shall be looking at the social aspect of her time in power, both the first and second terms. So let's have a quick preview of the Thatcher years as a whole. So she had tough trade union policies, and she had learnt from the mistakes of Heath. And her first time as Prime Minister was not successful due to economic implications. However, she did win the 1983 general election due to the 1982 Falklands War, and also she did manage to improve the economy slightly. Furthermore, her monetarist ideology was extremely controversial as it created a greater social divide and inequality within the UK. The effects of her monetarist policy can be seen by the division that was caused within the party, and also by the social aspect and you can see this in this presentation. And if you're wondering what the monetarist policy was, please look at the economic aspect of the Thatcher years by visiting our channel. And mainly all the effects of the monetarist policy can be seen within this presentation. So let's begin. So the Employment Bill in 1979 banned secondary picketing, and people that were part of a trade union or not part of a trade union organisation got more rights, and they got things like more compensation and things like that. And this bill effectively resulted in trade unions having less power and meant that they wouldn't interrupt the economy as much as they had done in both the Wilson years and the Heath years. And she also reinforced this bill with the Employment Act of 1982. Sympathy strikes were made illegal, and people were sacked who got sacked for not joining a trade union got compensation. Now, a sympathy strike is whereby someone else not involved in your particular strike goes on strike instead of you, and these were made illegal, and this effectively meant that any strike which did occur was very limited in its power and who could go on that strike. And the inner city riots in 1981 occurred due to great amounts of inequality, and this was basically where riots occurred in London, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, and many people were injured and many shops were ruined as part of the riots. And these were a symptom of Thatcher's very controversial ideology. And the miners' strike between 1984 and 85, as a result of 20 coal pits being shut, occurred, and this is a symptom of the Employment Act and the Employment Bill. The strike had very little effect on the government, and this is partly due to the acts limiting the amount of strikes and the power of the strikes they could use. But also she had done stockpiling, so she had made sure that they had enough coal to make sure the country could run for a few weeks, if not months. Whereas Heath, when the miners' strike occurred, he had no he didn't have enough coal to run the country, and so the 3-day week occurred due to the lack of coal he had. So the miners' strike had very little effect on the Conservative government and the country as a whole. The Education Reform Act in 1988 meant that GCSEs were introduced, whereas before they had O-levels and CSEs, and SATs were introduced, which you probably would have sat if you're watching this video, and also Ofsted was created. And as well as this, university funding was reduced, and the idea of this was that universities would have to compete more so that they got more students and got more revenue as a result. And this meant that more people often went to university because universities were competing to provide a lower price to go to that particular university. And also the National Health Service Act and Community Act in 1990 allowed hospitals to leave government control and manage their own budgets. And this meant that National Health Services, or the NHS hospitals, were trying to compete with others and make sure that they would redistribute their budgets in a way they wanted to. And this meant if they wanted to bring in more nurses, they could. If they wanted to maybe cut the amount of treatments, they could. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this presentation on the social aspect of the Thatcher years. If you'd like to have a look at what mainly caused the social aspect of the Thatcher years, please look at the economic aspect by visiting our channel, or look on our website for more information. Thank you.